I'm about to walk you step by step on how you can wholesale your first property and make $10,000 in 60 days or less. Stay tuned. Wholesaling properties is one of the best and easiest ways to get started in your real estate investing career. It requires $0 of your own money and still allows for you to make well over 6 figures every year, if not every single month. As a wholesaler, your job is to connect motivated sellers to cash buyers, helping them find their deals and let them come in, close the deal, and use it for their fix and flip or their next rental. The first thing you need to know when it comes to wholesaling real estate is your market. You need to pick and choose a market. Now, you can pick a market in your backyard, meaning your hometown or somewhere within reasonable driving distance. Or now with the power of the internet and everything going virtual, you can shop realistically anywhere in the country and you can still find and move deals. I always recommend that if you're new to real estate, that you focus on your local market. It makes it a lot easier to see properties, and it takes a lot of the guessing game out of wholesaling virtually and allows you to have a little bit more control over what's going on. For me, I started in my local market and I try to focus on my local market. However, I have also done a number of deals out of state and virtual deals, but I'm not focusing my marketing strategies over there. That's just come from networking and getting deals as I get them. Once you choose the market that you want to focus on, you need to study that market. You need to learn as much as you can about that market. You need to understand purchase prices. What are homes going for after they're remodeled? What are buyers looking for? And what are sellers asking for? You need to have the best understanding of your market possible, all the way from home costs, closing costs. You even need to know rehab costs. That way you can make an offer that makes sense to both the seller and your buyer. Now, if you choose to focus on a market that is outside of your backyard and do your deals virtually, then you need to build a team. You need to have realtors that can help you bring in deals. You need to have boots on the ground, people who can go and walk properties with buyers and with sellers, and people who can get you pictures and rehab estimates and things like that. But like I said, I always recommend starting in your local market or somewhere nearby. It takes a lot of the guessing game out of it, and it lets you have a little bit more control and develop a better understanding of the whole process. So you've chosen your market, you've done your due diligence on that market, and you understand everything about it. It's time to generate and find leads. Finding motivated sellers is pretty easy, but there's a number of different ways to do it. I always recommend, and this is the cheapest way to do it, and this is how I got my very first deal done, is by driving for dollars. It means hop in your car, hop in your friend's car, ride a bike, just drive around town, drive around neighborhoods, and look for homes that look abandoned or vacant or foreclosed upon, or even just homes that look like they are in worse shape than the ones around them. So, how do you know if a house is vacant? How do you know if a house is abandoned? What are some signs to look for? There's always a few dead giveaways. One of them being the roof. If the roof is in bad shape, there's a good chance that the homeowner is either not worried about the property, not maintaining the property, or they can't afford to live in that house. All of which are a good sign for a wholesaler looking to close a deal. Now the other ones are pretty obvious: overgrown grass, maybe a broken down car that hasn't moved in weeks or days or even months sometimes. Just telltale signs that the homeowner is not taking care of the property. Now, there are other ways for you to find leads. You don't only have to drive for dollars. Driving for dollars is just one of the cheapest and easiest ways to get started. Eventually, when you're ready to start to scale and you want to get some inbound leads, you can start posting ads on Facebook, Instagram. You can do bandit signs around town. And one of the best and longest lasting ways to find leads is to find realtors who have off-market properties. Now, these are properties that need a lot of work before they can get listed, and a lot of the times a realtor won't post them until these repairs are completed. So if a seller doesn't have the money or the time or the desire to fix these homes up before listing them, then you can contact them through the realtor and you can find deals that way. Now, it's important that you find off-market deals. It is possible to wholesale on-market deals, but there's a lot more competition and it's a lot harder to negotiate a price that works for the end buyer and for you to squeeze in your assignment fee. So you found the house that's run down and it's ready to get flipped. What do you do now? Well, that's easy. You need to contact the seller. You need to get a hold of the seller to figure out how motivated they are to sell their property. Now, you do this by skip tracing that property. It's really simple. I'm going to show you right now. Alright, moving over to the computer here, I'm going to show you how to skip trace a homeowner. I went ahead and found a for sale by owner listing on Zillow. So since they have everything already posted on the listing, I don't feel too bad putting it all over the internet. We'll just call it free marketing for them. So first thing you need, obviously, is the address. So once you get the address, you're going to take it to your county's local appraisal district. So if this one's in Brazos County, you can find yours by typing your county name and then CAD or appraisal district. I found that most of all of the websites are pretty similar to this layout, so navigating it shouldn't be too difficult for you. Just find the property search and type in your address. Now, this part honestly isn't necessary. I just like to use it for confirmation, and I'll show you why here in a second. You're going to be able to find the owner names that are on the deed and, of course, your address. So once you have this pulled up, go over to a site like truepeoplesearch.com or searchpeoplefree.com. There's a number of them out there. Find one you like. This is my favorite one personally, so it's what I use. Once you're here, click on reverse address and type that address back in, as well as the city. So this one's in Bryan. Now, you'll see that when you type this in, there's a number of different names that pull up, which is why I always like to pull up the deed first, because now I know what names I'm looking for. So we need Jesse Arjon and Sarah Bailey, and they were right here on top. So click view details, and that's going to give you not only their current address, but also their phone numbers. So you can go ahead and call them, and I'll show you Sarah's as well. So some of these numbers may be outdated, they may be disconnected, they may not work, but most of the time I found on this site I have a pretty good success rate, but you may have to call a few numbers before you get any contact with the owner. But like I said, most of the time it works out. So back to the lesson. Alright, so you got a hold of the owner, they're ready to sell the house. Now it's time to calculate your offer and submit an offer to them. There's a formula that all investors use whenever buying a house, and you're going to use that same exact one. It's the ARV times 70% minus your rehab cost minus your assignment fee. Once you do that, you're going to get your offer. Calculating the ARV, or after repair value, is a pretty simple process. It comes from finding homes in your area that have sold within no more than a year of your purchase date. Right now it's January 3rd. I want to be looking for homes that have sold no later than January 3rd of last year. And the closer you can get to your current date, the better and more accurate your ARV is going to be. You want to get at least 5 comps. You want to go and you want to see what these homes are selling for. And it's important that you find homes that have been remodeled. So go on Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, a number of different sites. And when you're searching for your property, make sure that you look up keywords that say rehabbed or remodeled. And a lot of the times you can tell just by the pictures. If it's a professional photo or a staged photo, then good chance is it's been recently remodeled, and that is the price that you want to base your offer off of. Alright, so once you've calculated your ARV, it's time now to calculate what it's going to cost to rehab and remodel this property. Now, it's important that your numbers are really accurate here because it's going to make or break your entire deal. If these numbers are off, your entire offer price is going to be off, and it's going to make it really hard to move it to your end buyer. The roof, the paint, the plumbing, electrical, bathroom, kitchen, all of these things, you want to make this house look as similar to the comps that you've pulled. That way you know that your purchase price at the end of the day is going to be very similar to those comps. So once you've calculated your rehab costs, now it's time to figure out how much of an assignment fee you can squeeze into your deal. I always shoot for 10 grand, but sometimes you do have to take less, sometimes you can take a lot more. It all depends on how the numbers line out. Once you figure out everything, you put it into this equation, the ARV times 0.7 or 70% minus your rehab cost minus your assignment fee, and that gives you the offer to your homeowner. The key thing is the more offers you make, the more deals you get, the more deals you close, and the more money you'll make. So make sure you're sending out as many offers as possible each and every day. Once you and the seller agree on a purchase price for the property, you need to sign and execute a purchase and sale agreement. It might look something like this. Once you get your seller to sign, there's a few things that I always like to include in my contracts. One of which is just stating that the house is being sold as is. This one's more for the seller as it is for you. The second one is I always like to request access to the property via a lockbox or key access. That way I can walk the property with cash buyers or just walk the property myself to make sure that I have the best understanding of my numbers. I can get pictures when I need them, and it helps facilitate the entire assignment process a lot better. Now the third one is arguably the most important one. It's a 10-day inspection contingency that I write in all of my contracts. This gives me a 10-day grace period to assign this contract to a cash buyer. If I am unable to find a buyer for my contract, one, that means it's a bad deal, but two, that means that I'm able to withdraw from the contract with no penalty. Now, even if I don't have any earnest money in the deal, it still looks better to the seller for me to act on behalf of this contract in a legal way than to void the contract illegally. It helps keep that relationship, and eventually you might be able to get them to go down on the price, and that will allow you to be able to assign it to a buyer. Alright, so now that you have a contract with the seller, it's time to find a cash buyer. You can find them everywhere. This is probably the easiest part of the whole gig. Now, a lot of people are going to tell you that you need to have a buyer's list ready to go before you even start searching for deals. I personally disagree. I think that if you have a good deal, finding a buyer to assign the contract to is going to be the easiest part of the entire process. Buyers are everywhere. You can start by looking on Facebook. Facebook groups are a great way to find real estate investors in your area. There's a number of ones that I really like. I'll leave a couple of them down below for you. The second way to find them is those comps that you found. Find the listing agent on them and give them a call. Let them know that you've got a project coming up in the neighborhood and you think that their client might be interested. If you did the comps right, it's going to be a very similar house, which means it's going to be something that that investor is already familiar with, which makes it a lot more appealing to them. Now, a third way to find buyers is around town. I'm sure everybody has seen the "We Buy Houses Cash" bandit signs. Call those numbers. Those are cash buyers. You can find signs like that in person, but you can also find them online on Craigslist and in more Facebook groups or even Facebook Marketplace. One last way to find a buyer is to go through rental properties. Find landlords in the area. A lot of the times they are also cash buyers and they may be interested in purchasing a property as well. So you've got a signed contract, and now you found a buyer to assign the deal to. You need to execute what's called an assignment agreement with that cash buyer. Basically, this signs over the rights to buy this property at a certain price point to that cash buyer. Now this should include your assignment fee in it. So if you have a purchase agreement with the seller for $70,000, you want to assign the contract over for $80,000, or however much of an assignment fee you want to make on top of it. Now you are no longer in the deal. The buyer is going to be the one that goes to the closing table. They're going to bring all the money to the table, and at this point you can just sit back and wait for the close to happen. All right. Congratulations, it's closing time. You have just moved your first wholesale deal and you're ready to get paid. The buyer's gonna go to the title company with everything needed to close. He's gonna sign all the documents, the seller's gonna sign their documents, and you just have to sit back and wait for the payment to come. The title company will reach out to you and they will either send you a check or they will do a direct wire into your bank, and that is the best feeling in the world when you see something like this come through your banking statement. Alrighty, well, I taught you step by step how to wholesale your first property in 60 days or less, and hopefully walk away from the closing table $10,000 richer. Now, if you enjoyed the video and if you learned something, please let me know in the comments. Subscribe for more videos. I'm going to be doing more in-depth videos, how-tos, and get a lot more detailed in the whole real estate investing world. And I would love for you guys to come along on the journey, learn a little bit, and hopefully we can all grow an immense amount of wealth and achieve financial freedom in the near future. Thank you guys so much. Take care.